going to be getting on or looking at week 4. I had marked week 3, but week 4 in our This Is My Body devotion for Lent. I feel like we are flying through Lent. I don't know about any of the rest of you.
Yeah.
But this has been a fast 4 weeks for sure. Judy, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, glad to finally get here. I'm sitting in the hospital parking lot, so.
All right. Well, I'm going to read. I'm on page 15. We're going to read from Luke 5:12 to 16 to start out. It says, once when he was in one of the cities, a man covered with a skin disease was there. When he saw Jesus, he bowed with his face to the ground and begged him, Lord, if you're willing, you can make me clean. Then Jesus stretched out his hand, touched him, and said, I am willing. Be made clean. Immediately the skin disease left him, and he ordered him to tell no one. But go, show yourself to the priest, and as Moses commanded, make an offering for your cleansing as a testimony to them. But now more than ever, the word about Jesus spread abroad. Many crowds were gathering to hear him and to be cured of their diseases. Meanwhile, he would slip away to deserted places and pray. And then Luke 8:42b to 48. As he went, the crowds pressed in on him. Now there was a woman who had been suffering from a flow of blood for 12 years, and though she had spent all she had on physicians, no one could cure her. She came up behind him and touched the fringe of his cloak, and immediately her flow of blood stopped. Then Jesus asked, Who touched me? When they all denied it, Peter said, Master, the crowds are hemming you in and pressing against you. But Jesus said, Someone touched me, for I noticed that power had gone out from me. When the woman realized that she could not remain hidden, she came trembling and falling down before him. She declared in the presence of all the people why she had touched him and how she had been immediately healed. He said to her, Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. Continuing on to page 16. I am an owl, a 4, an INFP. My strengths include input, empathy, and connectedness. All of these different code languages point in the same direction. The ways I understand and move in the world, where I struggle and where I thrive, how I fit in a community, the gifts I bring, and the needs I carry. Have you taken these tests? The animal in you, the Enneagram, the Myers-Briggs, the Strengths Finder? There are others, I'm sure. What do they tell you about who you are? How accurate do you find them to be? Have you been surprised, affirmed, or challenged by what these tests suggest to you about you? None of these tests have right or wrong answers. It's not better to be a 3 than a 7, not worse to be a weasel than a walrus. Each personality type, like each person, has areas where they excel easily and areas where they have to put in more effort. Teachers of the Enneagram are quick to remind their students it can be helpful to know someone else's number, not for the purpose of judging or making assumptions about them, but so we might have a bit more compassion. We'll recall, for example, that while an 8 might read a situation in one particular way and shape their response around those truths, a 9 is bound to notice other elements in the mix and respond according to what they notice. Both are needed. Both see pieces of what is real. For all we think we know about Jesus, these 2 stories remind us he was not a character or a caricature, but a real person, complete with his own gifts and needs and hopes, his own ways of understanding and moving in the world. Remember the line about crowds gathering to hear him and be cured of their diseases, and him withdrawing to the quiet, empty places to pray? A classic introvert move. The story doesn't tell us Jesus ignored these people or withheld his teaching or his healing from them. It tells us he couldn't be with them all the time. He needed to let his spirit be still, his body rest and recuperate, Some people gain energy from being in crowds. They're nourished when they're surrounded by noise and activity and feel most fully themselves in those moments. Other people need time away and alone to feel well and whole. In this story, Jesus engages both with those who are asking for him and with what his inner self was asking. Every person he encounters also has their own story, their own gifts and needs and hopes, own ways of understanding and moving in the world. These two scriptures give us characters who seem opposite of each other, at least in their tactics. One calls out to Jesus, drawing attention to himself and his illness, asking directly for Jesus to intervene. The other comes quietly through the crowd, trying to remain unnoticed, hoping to reach out and take what she needs without troubling Jesus at all. Their methods are different, but their motives are the same. They both seek healing. They both trust Jesus can offer it. Do they both trust he will? One makes his request in a crowded setting with the potential of others listening in. Is he hoping the public nature of his ask will ensure Jesus' yes? The other doesn't ask at all, but hopes if she can make some contact, it will be powerful enough to get her what she needs. Is she afraid if she approaches Jesus directly, she'll be turned away? Different though they may be, they all use their bodies to communicate. Their bodies are the site of their illness and their healing, their pain and their joy, their isolation and their connection. The first bows, the second stretches. Jesus responds to both. Both characters honor what happens to them and the role Jesus plays. The first asks before he is healed, I know you can. He tells Jesus, if you want to heal me, please do. It's a slight but significant moment when in a meaningful kindness, acknowledging Jesus as a person with his own will, preferences, and choices to make, not just as a dispenser of whatever those around him might yearn for. The second tells her story after she is healed. We don't have her words, but we do have this recorded memory. When she realizes Jesus is shaken by what she'd done, when he voices his need for understanding, scared as she is, she honors his need by offering up her story and allowing for a moment of connection between them. This exchange makes me wonder if the power had gone out from Jesus, didn't just transfer to her, but instead is shared between them. It makes me wonder what kind of healing, what kind of power is available to all of us when we listen closely, ask questions thoughtfully, and willingly share from our gifts and needs and hopes. Any thoughts from this story today? Or any questions you might have? There's a lot of assumptions in the beginning.
I wish he would cure things just like that now.
I never thought of Jesus as an introvert.
No.
I like the way they put that, that he didn't need time away.
Yeah.
I was confused by all those tests that they say, do you know, and all that. I was confused by all that.
I'm like you, Ray. I never heard of all those things either. That one did sound kind of familiar.
Myers-Briggs.
Myers-Briggs. That sounded familiar. The rest of them.
So Myers-Briggs tells you like where you're at on the introvert extrovert scale. You're either very introverted, mildly extroverted, or extremely extroverted. That's really the way that's really what that one is. I tend to be more introverted, but can be extroverted, which is why I can be a pastor.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. When we were deciding what ministry each of us would work with in the church, we were giving tests. Were any of those these tests?
It's very possible Myers-Briggs was part of that. I don't know. Ken, do you have any recollection of that?
I'd have to go in my files because I took the Myers-Briggs, through work, and we did one similar to Myers-Briggs, but I don't think it was Myers-Briggs, but it basically was, helping show that, were you a leader? Were you a follower? Were you,
No, I
more,
had the same thing Ken's talking about when I worked at Cummins. We went off-site up in New York, a group of us, and that was leadership skills. Because that's when Cummins was just diving into participating management approaches. So you needed to know what your leadership style was, more or less. But so yeah.
I guess there's a test too that can tell you what kind of animal you are.
Yes.
I guess so.
So it is. That one tells you, he said he's an owl. But then you also could be a weasel, a walrus. You could be a lion or a bear. If you think about it, if you're a lion or a bear, you're going to be more aggressive, more
Yes.
like talking at, like not willing. Like, I am someone who thinks a lot about what I say before I say it. That is not a lion or a bear. I think I'm probably more along the owl. I've done it before. I telling you, they put pastors through all kinds of these tests. I think the one that you probably would have taken, there's one called Strengths Finder, and I think Strengths Finder is what they use to help people in the church figure out where they would best serve.
I think that was it. I've got it in the other room. I got the results from everybody in the church
Yeah,
in the other room.
yeah.
It's interesting.
And then the Enneagram is one that's new. You might actually have seen articles on it because some people have been talking about it. There's some weird thoughts around it. Essentially, Enneagram is numbers 1 to 9. You usually are one number with a wing to another number. And a wing usually means that it's close to the number you are. Like the first time I ever took it, I was a 9 with a wing 1. And essentially it is really how you operate in the world. You look at, like, when there's conflict, how do you respond? When you're stressed, how do you respond? They even give you a number when you're stressed. This is the way you might act more like a 7 instead. Again, it's just one it just, like, for me, it just once again showed more of, like, just that thinking before I talk. Not really, I don't love conflict, but I can deal with it, things like that. In a lot of our businesses to this day, it doesn't surprise me that, Dean, that you talked about Cummins, because I think Cummins leans on those kinds of things a lot, across the board, especially in their, maybe not necessarily in the factories, but in the everywhere else. I think they lean on that because you have to kind of work as a team a lot. And if you don't know how you work with others, then it could be difficult. But essentially, they just talked about all of those tests to say, Jesus was a person like us, and he dealt with conflict in a certain way. And he obviously he needed to get away to recharge at some point in time, to refocus. So it's very possible that if he done the Myers-Briggs, he was probably more of an introvert who could be extroverted, things like that.
I like where it said, different though they may be, they all use their bodies to communicate.
Mhm.
And really hadn't stopped to think about, how each one of those stories, and also how Jesus was able to use his body to communicate, and went on to say, acknowledging Jesus as a person with his own will, preferences, and choices to make.
Yeah, I think about how very much, like, we do use our bodies to communicate. I think about how they I know one of the things I've always been taught is that that there's a certain open posture with your body when you're sitting across from somebody, or even when you're standing across from somebody. If my arms are folded and you're talking to me, that I have a defense up a little bit. I may not be completely open to what you're talking to, but if my arms are open, I'm more open. So whether we realize it or not, our bodies do communicate. And like I kind of mentioned this last week, I said my hands are dry. My body also communicates to me what I need as well. So I think it's interesting to think about, not only do our bodies communicate to others, but our bodies communicate to us too.
Sis can tell you, mom could always, if she got us something, and she could always tell if we liked it or not just by our body, by our reaction, whether it was facial or, I mean, she'd always say, "You don't like that." I'd say, "How do you know that?" She said, "Because I can just tell."
Yeah.
So people get to know you. I mean, she could read me like a book. So
Yeah.
your body language does tell a lot.
She could.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the very first question, Judy, kind of goes with that. Number 18, it says, or on page 18, it says, what are some ways you are similar to others in your family or friend group, and what are ways that you're different?
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Pam sent me another text. What did you say? What was it?
I'm on page 18, the first couple questions. What are some ways that you are similar to others in your family or friend group, or ways that you're different from them?
I wrote down Christian, female, white, old, widow, mother, grandmother, sister. I'm all those things, but not everybody in my family or my friends are all those things.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what I
My
wanted.
siblings and I all have the dark eyes after our dad.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We have different color of eyes, my siblings. I have hazel and the others have blue.
I think all the Miller boys and girls have Miller noses. And ears, I think, too.
We all recognize those.
I resemble that remark.
I grew up in a family that liked to sweep things under the rug. Like my parents hardly ever fought. We just never saw them disagree. Did they fight behind a closed door? Possibly. It's probably likely now that I'm married. But they also never like even showed affection out in front of us. So we learned a lot from them, and I would say that me and my brother and my sister have tendencies to sweep things under the rug. We do communicate our love for each other all the time, but we don't always show it. But I would say that like we're in varying places of where we're working. Like I would say that I'm the kind of person right now that I'm like, let's pull the rug up. We're gonna work through this. And my sister might be willing to pull it halfway up, and my brother maybe a corner. So we're a little different in that too. But I think we've all at least acknowledged that our family has done that. That's how we were raised, and we need to do something different for healing to happen and things like that.
I think my family is kind of the opposite. Everybody gave their opinion too much. We always knew what the other was thinking and feeling. Good or bad.
Do any of you have a friend that's like complete opposite from you? Like whether you're like, maybe you're really outspoken and they're pretty quiet, or vice versa?
Oh, yes. We'll just leave it at that. Oh, yes.
Yeah. I mentioned my friend Leanne that's going to have the baby. I have loved my friendship with her because both of us are actually pretty quiet, but we're different in like the things we like and stuff like that. But I've always known from the get-go that I was blessed to have her as a friend because I've learned so much from her. And I'm thinking, I had a roommate one time, her name was Christy as well, and she was ridiculously outspoken. And like I'm the kind of person, lipstick comes on my coffee cup and I won't say anything. I'll find the spot where the lipstick's not on the coffee cup and I'll drink it. I know that's gross, but I'm just that kind of person. But my roommate was like, nope, that has to go back, you know. But it's always been good to have those people in my life, even though we're different. It's not always been easy. There's been struggles at times, but it's always been good to have different people in our lives.
But it sure gives you a different slant on things.
Yeah, it's very true. Very true. Well, what are some ways that you make your own needs known?
Yeah,
I
what's wrong?
complain.
Pardon?
I complain.
We'll do it on the telephone, in person, on a text or email, or I pray about it. I like Joyce's answer. She complains.
I'm not very good about it. Like Clara, you said you call, and I'm like, yep, nope, I don't want to even have a phone call. I put off something for 3 weeks, and I finally yesterday was like, just make the phone call and do it. Like, you know.
I feel sorry for sis because she gets the blunt of all my calls. She has to take all of them, and she's got
Pam,
shoulders of steel for me. I tell you, if I wouldn't know what to do if she wasn't there for me to complain to. So about everything.
Pam, you need to click on the red microphone because you're on mute. Get your little cursor on the microphone, the red thing with the cross across it, and click on it, and then you can talk.
I'll try it.
There,
There you
there,
go.
There you are.
there you. Hi, Pam.
Hi, Clara. Hi, Christy.
Hello.
Hi, Pam.
Hi, Pam.
Hi, 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 hi.
You did it, Pam. That's great.
Yeah. I know nothing on how to set up Zoom or anything that deals with computer, you know, or I don't know. Oh, hey.
That's it.
So
You got it
anyway,
figured out though for today, so that's good.
well, thanks to Clara.
Yeah, good. Well, the way you got on today is how you would get on any other time we're on Zoom. Sundays, anything like that. So
Okay.
yeah. Well,
Can you have more than one Zoom? Because I got a friend, his name is Mark Lowry, and he used to sing with the Bill Gaither vocal band. And from 1988 to 2005, something like that. He's a gospel singer, Southern Baptist comedian. So,
Yes.
so anyway, I'm a big fan of his. So, the other Zoom, if I'm allowed to have it, or you can have 2 or 3 Zooms, whatever.
Well, I don't know anything about that, but this code is the Zoom for this program, and this you get us with this particular code.
yeah.
Other
I've been
Zooms are different. It's just like a different channel on the television.
Yeah, I've been trying to get Mark Lowry sent me a you have to be careful because there's a lot of scammers out there.
Yeah.
And so anyway, he gave me a link for his preacher in Houston, Texas. And I've been trying for about like 3 weeks, trying on Wednesdays and on Sunday mornings, you know, to go to church with him, you know, just like what I'm going to be doing Sunday, you know, go to church with you. So anyway, it hasn't worked yet, so I was really surprised that
Yeah.
that I
Well,
did it.
Get that
Okay.
figured out. We're in
Well,
we're in the middle of our Lenten
This-
devotional for
this-
today.
We're in this book.
Yeah.
Ah,
So so we were just finishing up talking about some ways we make our own needs known. I think it's important to connect that back to like how they use their bodies to communicate their need. The next question is, how have you used your body to heal, help, or connect with others?
I have answers. It seems like I do all the talking. So.
no, I think I can answer that. I mean, I don't know. Get on Zoom and like I'm doing now, and just I don't know. I forgot what the question was.
That's okay.
It says, how have you used your body to help heal, help, or connect with others? One thing I've done, I've been a caregiver for my granddaughter until she was 17, and I got too old. She got too big. I couldn't do it anymore. And I cared for my husband too in his final days. And I also gave birth, done that.
Yeah.
And another thing I've done about my body, I told you the story the other day about when I'm in the waiting room after during mammogram, I say to the other ladies in there that I don't know your situation at all, but I had a lumpectomy in 1995 and I'm still going. So I'm showing my body, you know, I'm still alive. And, you know, that was like last year. So
Yeah, I guess I could say that.
1995. Another way I
I mean-
use my body is I allow the cosmetology students to learn, because I go over there and let them cut my hair and do my toenails. Not perfect, but they need to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess what I could just say is hang on a second, lost my train of thought again. I wish that train would keep on the right track and not detour.
You have to make a note of it.
Track. It just yeah, I get when I text Mark Lowry, I was doing it on Facebook. Well, there's a scammer there. So back in when we had that real hard wind and storm, rained for like 2 days, maybe a day and a half, and I was talking. I talked to him, and I got to figure out how to go back on Zoom and meet Mark's preacher. Brett Jones is his name, and I think his church is in Humble, Texas.
Hmm.
And Mark lives in Houston, and I'd love to go see a concert, one of his concerts, but can't afford it. It's too far away.
Yeah. Well, what
And,
about anybody else? Did you have any thoughts to how have you used your body to help heal or connect with others?
Well, before COVID, I used to hug people once in a while.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not a big hugger. I don't like people touching me. But if there's a real need, I think that need needs to be fulfilled.
Mhm.
And I think some people, that's very important to them.
No, I
So
am a
you
hugger.
go beyond your comfort zone to help them with their problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a
And
hugger.
my sister-in-law, for about 3 weeks ago, something like that, she had COVID, and well, first her sugar was 600, And of course, they put her in the hospital, and she had COVID. And now she's getting over it, now. But the metformin medicine that is on that she's on now, she's a diabetic thanks to COVID. Why they put her on metformin, and that gave her hives. So just I want to add her to you guys' prayer list. And I just saw her just today, and she had to be away from everybody for like 2 weeks after she was out of the hospital. Well, that 2 weeks is gone by, and she's starting to feel better.
What's her
But-
name?
Sandra.
Oh,
We've
it's
been
Sandra.
praying
I
for her.
thought it was Sandra, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sandra Crippen.
Yeah.
And
We've definitely been praying for her. We've had her on the prayer list. We'll keep her on there to keep praying for her.
yeah,
too.
it and myself, I haven't been for the last week and a half. I haven't been able to hardly do anything. It's like my right shoulder, it hurts. I mean, I can't even lift it to brush my hair,
No.
and I just have to do it with my left hand or wash dishes or anything like that. It's not my rotator cuff. It's haven't figured out when the surgery's going to be, and I'm just not really positive that I need the surgery. I mean, I don't know. Of course, the Dr. Slivka, orthopedics and sports medicine surgeon, says yes, you do, because it's just there's no stuff there. It's just bone on bone.
Yeah.
And so anyway, pray that somehow
We'll be praying for you for sure.
it,
We've only got a few minutes left, so I want to keep on with our lesson, okay?
oh, okay. I'm sorry to be
That's
rattling
okay.
on like that.
That's all right. So I think I know for me, like just being sensitive to people's need, like I tend to read into things to kind of like I hear what people are saying, but I also am watching their body language. And I talked to somebody on the phone last week, and I said, if I was with you, I would give you a big hug right now, because I could just hear it in their voice. And then when I got to see them, I gave them that hug. And just I'm not much on physical contact at all. It's something like it sends like a shockwave through me, and I just I'm not big on it. But I also will, like, if I sometimes even at the Love Chapel, if I'm working with people, I might just touch them on the shoulder just to make that connection of like, I care for you. It's not all the time. I'm trying to read it out, figure it out, but because I know how I am, like I'm sensitive to that to others. But I do think that that might be something for us to like really consider, is how do we use our body, not only to like help or heal, but also just to connect with people, being aware of that. In the going deeper section, it says, can you remember a time when someone was sensitive to a unique need of yours? And how did it make you feel?
Anita and John and Laura, there's different times that they brought food.
Mm-hmm.
I was very blessed to have such special friends.
Yeah.
And to receive cards, that's important too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People assist me all the time. Just look at me. They help me put my walker in and ask me if I need help with my oxygen, and my family always makes sure I have my oxygen right and my hose is connected if we go out somewhere and things like that.
I think
Yesterday-
it's just,
Go
I
ahead.
just think it's people, of any kind of encouragement. It could be a kind word or a gesture, or like Ray said, a card, or Joyce said, just somebody thinking about you, and just doing sometimes the smallest things that you do for people, it seems like to me, turn out to be the very best things. Maybe you don't even remember doing it, but to them it meant a lot.
One of the things I am very, very blessed with is a sister who loves me,
Mm,
and she shows so much love and concern for me, and I am very blessed.
yeah, that's great.
Me too,
I-
Joyce. My sister, she'd come down here and live with me if I asked her to. I know she would. I don't want her to, but she would if I asked her to.
Love you, sis.
Yeah.
What do you?
I think for me, it's just the people that either I have shared and have listened and just follow, I really do think they follow the Spirit's leading and how to help and how to reach out. And that might be a card, it might be something else. I think also it's just sometimes like I don't always share everything, and it's sometimes people can get a sense that there's something else going on, or I just come to mind and they reach out. I think those have been, I have a couple experiences of that, and it just like, it finally allowed me to say yes to the help because somebody, they just knew and I hadn't said anything. So it makes me feel, I have a hard time understanding that, like, or feeling like I deserve the help.
Aw.
But it begins, like, it starts to, there are moments that you still feel undeserving, and then there are moments that you feel just loved and worthy. It like somehow makes you feel worthy to receive that help too.
Right.
So,
I wish I could keep things to myself more. Sometimes I feel like I tell too much. Oh, shut up.
well, I just encourage you all to just consider these stories. I don't think there's one, based on this story, I don't think there's one way that we're to approach Jesus. But maybe sometimes we do need to just reach out in bold faith and touch him, thinking that maybe we'll receive what we need. And maybe sometimes we need to ask for that help. But I think if anything, there's something in that from this devotion today. I loved that last part. This exchange makes me wonder if the power that had gone out from Jesus didn't just transfer to her, but instead is now shared between them. So another thing I would leave with you is, what might you need from Jesus that needs to be shared with you from him? The beautiful way.
That thought kind of makes me think of, like Tim was on that mission trip. I remember the mission trip that I went on. Well, that was, kind of fits with that's reaching out to others, but so much came back to me as well. The feeling that I had from that, I always felt like I gained more than they did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so true.
Seems like you always get back more than you've given, and I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and pray. We'll close out this part of our time. And God, we thank you so much for today. Lord, thank you for your word and a way of hearing this familiar story and thinking about it differently. Lord, I pray that you would just be with us, that as we go our separate ways, that we'd be aware of our body and the way our body communicates with ourselves, but also with others. That we would remember that you were a human, a man who walked this earth and who felt the things that we feel, whose mind operated in a way like our mind operates, who ate just like we eat, and who hung out with friends in the ways that we hang out with friends and family. And just pray that we wouldn't lose that understanding of you as human. And also remember you were fully divine too. Lord, pray that you would just be with us as we go our separate ways, that something from this time together would just stick with us, that we would be challenged and encouraged by it in the days ahead. I pray that you'll keep us all safe and healthy and bring us back together the next time. We pray all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.